Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with a quick discussion and more than anything, really just a question. Is the Olight PL Mini 2 Valkyrie weapon light still relevant in today's market? This is a weapon light that came out quite a long time ago at this point. In fact, if my research is correct, this weapon light has been out since January of 2019. And so, a lot of things have changed. But, how much have they changed? And if they've changed, is this little weapon light still relevant today? Well, I'm kind of taking a rough look at this and trying to understand it. And I'm going to say, before anything else, short answer is, yeah, absolutely it is. First off, Olight came onto the scene with all of their sort of proprietary charging, and you could say that's a pro or a con, but I'm going to say for this discussion, that's a pro. This is very small and compact. We're actually going to take a look at this against other offerings that are compact and try to answer the question of what are some of the most compact weapon lights to date at this point in time. Mid-season 2025. And then amongst all of that, well, what about the lumen output? This is a 600 maximum lumen output. Where does that stack up? And, is that enough for what we need to do with this weapon light? Has the technology, LED technology, battery technology surpassed this little light? Well, we're going to answer some of those questions today. And so, as I was thinking about this, first off, because this has been out for so long, I do want to talk about holster support. Now, clearly it's going to depend what firearm you personally have, what company you look at for holsters, and then, in this case, in combination with the PL Mini 2. But the PL Mini 2 has been very popular, and most specifically in recent years. And that's due to the, compact moving to subcompact, going to micro-compact carry, and the fact that firearms these days are gaining capacity quickly for smaller and smaller platforms. This is a large gun these days. This is the P365XL. This is like a large gun these days compared to some of the other options. And the fact that, you can get all of these with rails and optics cut and the ability to build these out. Well, at this point, something like the PL Mini 2 has been there the entire time. So, holster companies have been able to support this light in many cases from before the inception of the firearm model. And what that means is most people have actually been able to leverage their PL Mini 2 to get their new handguns and, for the past, 5 or 6 years, outfit with holsters that already had holster support. And that continues to be true today. So I would go as far as to say, just from that perspective alone, the PL Mini 2 definitely still has a place, definitely is relevant, and definitely can aid and support the market the way it needs to for brand new firearms in that compact genre and micro compact genre, and give you good quality holster support. So right then and there, I would say that is definitely a plus for the PL Mini 2. Now, I briefly touched upon the proprietary charging capabilities. Keep in mind the fact that many other companies have leveraged that same sort of idea. Now, the Pro, you can actually plug this in either to the wall or maybe even better to something like a power bank, leave it in your safe so that this is charging and topped off at all times. And the reality is you can literally just grab your firearm and go, and you know that this is fully topped off. Now, I have a couple of other kind of similar scenarios here. I've been looking at Nightcore and their weapon lights, and they also have a proprietary charger, but for this particular light, you need to actually remove the battery. The battery then has the proprietary charging kind of port there. The cable is also very specific, and it needs to be mounted in a very specific orientation. And I can't exactly yank this and go without then needing to, take the battery and shove it into my weapon light real quick. And even if this was already mounted onto the firearm, that would be a disaster. So from that perspective, I would still go as far as to say the Olight PL Mini 2 has the advantage. But even as we move to Streamlight, this is the TLR7X, which is a rechargeable version. But for me to actually recharge this, well, here I need to remove the battery, plug in a USB Type-C cable, and then I can get this put back into the light. So even Streamlight is not leaving me all that flexible for my on-weapon charging need. Is it a deal breaker? No, but to me, it's just another data point where the PL Mini 2 definitely leaving you set up to do what you need to do. Now there is one little oddity and deficiency, and that's the polarized nature of the charging port. So you can see here, well, I can charge my light no problem on my handgun. However, if you are invested into Olight and have their other products, well, unfortunately, the polarity is literally reversed. And so this will repel. And so you actually need more of a charger suited to the light itself. And then therefore, the polarity is the opposite on the weapon light, and that is repelling. So that's a bit of a deficiency. I mean, that's the only thing I can say is it would have been nice to actually have one charger that meets all of your Olight charging needs across the line. Now, as we work our way through these particular lights, you can see that the PL Mini 2 is the smallest amongst all of these, and these are fairly small lights. So here we have the Olight PL Mini 2, the Nightcore NPL25, Streamlight TLR7A or 7X, and the Streamlight TLR7 Sub. All of these have been adopted fairly widespread, and then especially the Streamlights, fairly widespread amongst the CCW community, and the ability to carry these effectively on firearms specifically sized and made for concealed carry operations. Now, as we move through these, I will give you some basic specifications, just enough to kind of give you an understanding of how these stack up. So as we get into the Olight here, the maximum output 600 lumens versus the Nightcore 900 lumens, TLR7A 500 lumens, and the TLR7X 500 lumens. Now I caveat that by saying that the Olight Mini 2 will definitely step down after about a minute to 60 lumens. That's probably the only downfall. However, 60 lumens is more than enough light to see and positively identify a target. 600 lumens is a nice blast right up front, more than enough light to do what you need to do. And that's second only to the Nightcore, which again coming in at 900 lumens. But when it comes down to the size, the PL Mini 2 definitely being the smallest at 2.07 inches in length. The Nightcore very similar, I would say closer to 2.15. TLR7A 2.58 inches, and TLR7 Sub 2.51 inches. So if you're looking for a very small and compact light, the PL Mini 2 definitely going to do it. And when it comes down to weight, you're talking about around 2.57 ounces for the PL Mini 2, 2.61 ounces for the Nightcore, 2.4 ounces for the TLR7A, and 2.4 ounces for the TLR7 Sub. And even though the TLR7A is larger, it's just a little bit lighter. I can't say for sure exactly why that is. Could be the battery technology inside and just kind of how this all comes together, and the fact that there's an integrated charging port onto the PL Mini 2, but I can't really say exactly why the weights differ. All of these with paddle style switches, which I think is awesome. And I would also like to roll in just a comparison of the PL Mini 2 with a couple other very popular, and I call these like almost micro weapon lights, which would be the Surefire XSC, which is only 350 lumens maximum output, and then also the Streamlight TLR6, which is only 100 lumens maximum output. The TLR6 is smaller, a little bit smaller in terms of the overall size, being around 2.3 inches versus the 2.6 of the PL Mini 2. Also, the Surefire being around 2.5 inches. But when you take into consideration price, I think that's another factor. So let's talk about price real quick. The PL Mini 2 has always commanded right around that like $90 to $100 mark. We are talking about significantly higher cost for all of these other lights. The Surefire up over $300. Streamlights usually in the mid 100s. The NPL 25 also in the $80 to $100 mark depending on where you get it. The TLR 7A often around $200. And the TLR7 sub also right around $200, again, depending on where you get it. So right away, the PL Mini 2 definitely holding its own for size, power, the overall support from the market, and price. So this to me is still a very, very viable option. And I will give you the last talking point that I think makes a huge difference. And there's only a few lights that do things like this exactly the way this mounting system does it. And I love this about the PL Mini 2. First off, let's use the Streamlight for the example. These jaws are fixed. The key on the inside that keys into that pick rail also fixed. So the distance that this sits into the trigger guard is a fixed distance. There's not much you can do to adjust it other than change out those keys, which requires tools to remove some things and the keys to actually swap it out. So that's going to be the case for all of the Streamlight lights. Now, when it comes down to the Nightcore and the Olight, they are doing this the best. And I would only go as far as to say the Nightcore may be a little bit better. You can see that on the side of the jaws, you have your clamp, but when this is in the open position, this ratchets and moves forwards and back. Again, that's similar to what you see here on the Nightcore. The Nightcore a little bit smoother and a little more granular in terms of its adjustability. However, that makes for a very easy time to actually mount the weapon light. And even if it's not mounted exactly where you like it, you just slide it into place, which you can see now recesses this right where you need it. So you can adjust that to how you like it. And then the clamp, very easy to clamp everything down, adjustable in terms of the tension, and just a real clean, flush fit. Nice and tight, tidy, shorter than the muzzle, which probably works to the benefit of not increasing your footprint, and especially while you're carrying, to not dig into you if you're carrying appendix. So in my opinion, the mounting capability also very much, I would say, an advantage to the PL Mini 2 over other offerings out there, with exception being, I just think Nightcore does it a little bit better. And so if you're somebody in the market for a weapon light, if you're a homeowner, if you're an enthusiast, a novice, if you're looking for something that's not going to break the bank, the PL Mini 2, in my opinion, will absolutely do that It will give you good overall output, decent runtime, recharging capability, ease of access, excellent mounting, the aftermarket support, the Olight name. All in all, I think this is definitely still relevant. So that's my opinion. For the rest of you, what do you think? Weigh in on the comments below. Let me know your opinion of where this falls at this point in time, especially considering we've gone pretty much 6 years now in the weapon light technology, and things have changed and improved and moved on. So let me know your thoughts. I'm curious. Thank you to the people at Olight who did provide this for review. And thank you guys. I appreciate you stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.